If you're looking for a great YouTube network to join, apply for Fullscreen with the link in the description. To trade your games in for a better value, use leaptrade.com and use BrokenGamezHD as a referral. Dying Light is probably going to be one of the best underrated games of 2015. It's a great game to start off the year and kind of get rid of that bad taste we have in our mouth from the atrocities and broken games of last year. Many people were very skeptical about this game, and for good reason. It was made by the same developers that made Dead Island, which is, in my opinion, and probably the general consensus, that it's not very good. But this game is solid proof that even though a developer may make a bad game, it is possible for them to improve and evolve at what they do. This game is not a Game of the Year contender in my opinion, but even with all the competition out in 2015, this will easily be making my top 10 games list for 2015. Now, the story is not anything necessarily groundbreaking or new, especially when it comes to the zombie apocalypse themed games, but it is more than enough to keep you interested in playing to know what happens next. So there actually is a pretty competent story. And even though I was one of the people who believed in the potential of this game prior to its release, all the different aspects of this game even still impressed me, completely surpassed all my expectations for this game. So basically, you're an undercover GRE operative sent to the quarantine city of Haran, which is obviously infested by zombies caused by a variation of the rabies virus. Your mission starts out as to find a rogue operative and retrieve some intel from him, but it gets way deeper than that and starts to expand as you get further in the game. The story actually does have some outstanding, memorable moments and actually characters in the game, surprisingly, that you'll probably either learn to love, hate, and some of them, will annoy you to the point where you want them to die. So the story does enough to evoke some emotion out of you, and throughout the game you actually do connect with the main character and learn about his personality, which is something I personally find very hard to do in many first-person games. I just find that there's a barrier and a huge challenge with connecting with the main character, and that may be due to the fact that you never actually see him. And I actually do think because this game had such parkour elements, it would have benefited from a third-person mode. Now, segueing into the gameplay, this is really one of those games you have to play to see how fun it is. You have to experience this game. This is one of those games where it actually, and I may agree with you at some points, it is boring to watch, and it looks, and based on watching, you feel like if you played it, you would be bored. But it is not the case. I have 40 hours in Dying Light, and you think in that amount of time that eventually killing zombies melee style over and over again would gradually get boring. That did not happen for me. There is just something special about this game that makes killing these zombies over and over again so satisfying. From the first time you do it to the hundreds of times, it still feels satisfying. And most importantly, fun, because that's one of the biggest things we forget about games sometimes, is talking about the fun factor. This is a genuinely fun game. The main elements of this game are parkour, melee combat, and just honestly surviving, because you're gonna come into those type of situations where you just need to do whatever it takes to, not die at some points. Now, the parkour mechanics weren't exactly as captivating as I wanted them to be, because I honestly did want it to be more like Mirror's Edge, where the gameplay was very much focused around movement. Not that it's not a very good system, it just seems that it came secondary to other elements in the game, like the melee. I just think it didn't completely produce the same effects as a game like Mirror's Edge, which is somewhat understandable because it is not just a parkour game like Mirror's Edge. The game definitely puts you in some very fast-paced, tense situations, especially when you encounter the different zombie breeds, such as, well, I don't know the official name for them, but you have the volatiles, which is the ones that are chasing me right now in this video. You have the big hulking ones that charge you. You have the spitters, you have the bloaters that explode, you have the typical generic slow zombie, and you also have the runners and the baby screamers, I guess you can consider them, because they scream so loud, you take damage from them. And not only that, they scream so loud they alert every zombie, especially the volatiles, to your location. This is one of those games that really gets better when you unlock more skills and abilities and also craft more weapons. It goes without saying, even though some people don't realize it, you can't judge a game like this based on how it is in the beginning, because it might seem bare bones and repetitive because you don't have much at your disposal. You can find weapons such as sledgehammers, pickaxes, and swords, and also add elemental effects to them such as electricity, toxicity, and fire damage as well. And that's just to name a few. And you can also upgrade your weapon by adding modifications that increase its damage, durability, or its handling, because these weapons do break and you have a limited amount of repairs. And that's why looting and inventory management is a very important part of this game. And you're not only killing zombies in this game, there is plenty of human interaction. And one of the best things about Dying Light are the side missions. Trust me, I'm not the biggest fan of doing side missions in open world games because I feel they tend to just be filler and just a waste of time and pretty monotonous and boring. But Dying Light has some of the best side missions I have played in an open world game. You are doing yourself a disservice for many reasons if you only play the main missions in this game. Trust me, you want to play the side missions as much as possible, because you'll end up benefiting from it, from the experience points you gain from it, and also the new characters you'll meet that make the story more interesting than it already was. Yes, at the core of it, it is mainly just retrieval missions, but the combination of the day and night cycle and the actual fun from the missions themselves make it worthwhile. Playing during the night is more challenging, but I prefer to play during the night because of that reason, and also because you're rewarded with more experience points for playing during the night. Also, Dying Light has some of the best graphics I've seen in an open world game. Keyword, in an open world game, because obviously developers have to make more sacrifices, and they're presented with much more of a challenge to making their, huge world all look good. But Techland did a very good job at this. There are some, problems here and there that you'll definitely notice, but overall a very good looking game. Probably one of its biggest flaws is, even though the voice acting is very good, the facial animations of the characters are terrible. With most characters, it looks like their mouth is moving and literally no other muscle on their face has movement. It looked like they had a stroke. And now all the muscles in their face besides their mouth muscles are paralyzed. So that's something they could have done a much better job at. And the main villain in the game is pretty interesting, probably because he reminds you very much of Voss from Far Cry 3. But overall, I really enjoyed my experience with Dying Light, and even if you don't want to buy the game exactly right now at the $60 price, I recommend even at the slightest price drop. It's a game you really will enjoy and be worth it. By the way, the PC version does have some frame rate stuttering and game crashing issues, but fortunately there are some easy workarounds to them until Techland hopefully releases a patch. So overall, based on my experiences, I give Dying Light an 8.5 out of 10. Thank y'all for watching. I'm out of here. Peace.